I'm repeating again. Two firms, A and B, operate in the same industry. The two firms are similar in all aspects, except for their capital structures. Their capital structures are the ones which are different. The following additional information is available. The following additional information is available. A Limited is financed using shillings 100 million worth of ordinary shares. So A Limited is all equity financed, doesn't have any debt. B Limited is financed using shillings 50 million in ordinary share and 50 million in 7% debentures. The annual EBIT is 10 million for both firms. These earnings are expected to remain constant indefinitely. The cost of equity in A Limited is 10%. The corporate tax rate is 30%. Using Modigliani and the Miller model, determine the following: the market value of A Limited and the B Limited. And then we have WACC. Swali kama hili, ladies and gentlemen, trust you me, very few students will be able to get all the marks. Very few students will be able to get all the marks here. Very few students will be able to get all the marks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, how do we get market value? How do we get value of a farm? Value of a farm. Remember, this valuation of farms inakuja as a separate topic. Valuation of farms inaweza kuja under mergers and acquisitions, na pia inakuja under what here, somebody under the capital structure theories. Olivia ametupatia, lakini generally kabla hiyo, to value an organization. Value of a farm. Value of a farm, unatumia concept ya indefinite. Your lighting sio mzuri. Indefinite. If, for example, ladies and gentlemen, somebody was to give you, say, some annuity amount, where somebody in this case is giving you A per annum for N, which is infinity, N, which is infinity, N, which is infinity, and then he has given you N is infinity for N, which is infinity, and then he has given you cost of capital, unaambiwa cost of capital is R, and then you are required to give us the present value. Give us the present value. Give us the present value. Present value of an annuity amount which will be received every year, indefinitely. As Olivia tells us, it will be this A over R. A over R. Thank you very much. The same is applicable, ladies and gentlemen, for farms. Remember, farms, ladies and gentlemen, when we start companies, we expect companies here to outlive us. We expect companies to live indefinitely. And that is why, ladies and gentlemen, value of an organization will always be given by, you look at the earnings. So the earnings, ladies and gentlemen, the earnings of a farm. How do we get earnings of a farm? Earnings of a farm, of course, this will be EBIT minus the interest. And then, of course, we come and tax this. So the tax this in a 1 minus what here? 1 minus tax, 1 minus taxation. And then, ladies and gentlemen, now what we shall do is to capitalize this. You know, this is an annual income. It is profit after what here? After tax. So on this profit after tax, normally what do we assume? We assume that these organizations pay dividends 100%. Their dividend payout ratio is 100%, so that the profit after tax becomes a cash inflow for equity holders. And that is why we normally say that value of a farm, especially VE, value of a farm for the equity holders will be equal to the profit after tax. And then now our cost of capital becomes what we call what here, somebody becomes KE. Becomes KE like that. So anytime they talk of valuation of a farm, ladies and gentlemen, first of all, start with this. And remember, as Olivia tells us there very well, the very first thing that you'll need to do before you go to value of a levered farm, which has got some equation, first of all, you identify between the two companies that you have, between the two companies that will be given. Which one is the unlevered farm? 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 Alafu na makosa wanafunzi wengi ufanya, mtu akisikia ati farm A, farm B, anakuambia ati farm A ati ndio unlevered. Ukimuuliza kwa nini, ati sababu ni letter A, ati ndio imea? Lazima usome vizuri. Next time tutakwambia farm B ndio unlevered. So ladies and gentlemen, here they have told us A is financed using 100 million worth of what here? Ordinary shares. It's question number 8. A, you can look at its capital structure, only ordinary shares. Ordinary shares is equity. B is the one that has got ordinary shares and 50 million worth of debt, 50 million debentures. So, ladies and gentlemen, Farm A is the one that is unlevered. So, Farm A is the one that is unlevered. So, Farm A is the unlevered farm. And if it is the unlevered farm, ladies and gentlemen, then what I'll do, I'll come and say value of unlevered farm. Can somebody give me the formula? Value over unlevered farm, VU. Value over unlevered farm equals who? Value over unlevered farm equals who? Value of unlevered farm equals who? Is anybody who is able to remember this? Value of unlevered farm. No. Value of unlevered farm. Value, of course, I know you guys want to write the correct thing, but you don't know how to type. You don't know how to type there. You don't know how to type there. So, ladies and gentlemen, value of unlevered farm, as I've told you, it will be EBIT, unangoa interest. Ngao unajua interest is zero, of course, like unaandika to general formula. Now, the students who are saying EBIT over KU or whatever, ladies and gentlemen, remember, here in this question, we happen to be having taxes. Did you see taxes? There is tax. And if there is tax, of course, you must first of all give the taxman what belongs to him. So in this case here, come and less the tax by multiplying with that. And then, of course, now you divide with cost of equity of unlevered organization. Cost of equity of unlevered organization. Cost of equity of unlevered organization. So, ladies and gentlemen, if that is the case, is there anybody who is able to see EBIT? Is there anybody who is able to see EBIT here? In this question, note number 3. Note number 3, they have given us EBIT of 10 million. So EBIT is 10 million. So if the farm is unlevered, what is the rate of, or rather, what is the interest? If the farm is unlevered, what is the interest? If the farm is unlevered, the interest is 0 because unlevered means no debt. Unlevered means no debt. So the interest there is 0. Now, ladies and gentlemen, then we have 0.7. We have 0.7. Hata ujui nimetoa 0.7 wapi. Hata ujui nimetoa 0.7 wapi. Mwangalie huyu akijua hata nimetoa 0.7 wapi. Very good. It is 1 minus what here? Tax. Very good, Salome. Very good, Hilda. It's 1 minus 0.3. Our tax is 30%. All over cost of equity of unlevered organization. Cost of equity of the unlevered organization. Ladies and gentlemen, cost of equity of the unlevered. Have they given me the cost of equity? Cost of equity of Farm A. Wameniambia cost of equity of Farm A, which is unlevered, is 10%. So this is the same as 0.1. Ladies and gentlemen, could you kindly give me the answer here? Could you kindly give me the answer here? Give me the answer there. So wananiambia kwamba inafaa kuwa 7 million. Inafaa kuwa 7 million. Inafaa kuwa 7 million. So I've been able to answer part 1 of Roman 1. Roman 1 wants me to do 2 things. Roman 1, they want me, ladies and gentlemen, to give them A limited value, market value of A limited, and the market value of B limited. Or some it's 70 million, not 7 million. Please use your calculator. Use your calculator nicely. You say 10 times 0.7, that gives me 7 years, divided by 0.1 years. It's 70 million. So the unlevered farm, which is Farm A, has got what here? The unlevered farm has got a value of 70 million. Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, after that, remember, getting in this case here value of a levered organization now becomes my second step here. Value of a levered farm, which is Farm B. So it will be very important for me to know which Modigliani and Miller is this. It will be very important for me to know which Modigliani Miller is this for purposes of valuing this levered farm. Most of them are telling me it is MM2. Most of them are telling me that it is MM2. Where you are doing farm valuation of a levered farm, valuation of a levered farm under taxes. Thank you very much. It's MM2 with taxes, yes. And if it is MM2 with taxes, then value of a levered farm will be equal to what I saw ages ago. Students, who were able to write for me this formula ages ago, about 20 minutes ago, even before I asked them. Value of a levered farm equals value of an unlevered farm plus, in this case here, what we call dt plus dt plus dt plus dt. Now, ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to listen and listen to me very well. This is a formula ya Modigliani-Miller what? Modigliani-Miller 2. Ya Modigliani-Miller 2. Kumaanisha value of a levered farm here will be equal to, do we have any unlevered farm in the in this question? What is its value? What is its value? Value of unlevered farm tumeitafuta saizi ya A ni 70 million. Sasa unakuja unajiuliza, hii farm B yetu, ladies and gentlemen, hii farm B yetu, do we have debt? And if we do, over how much? Yes, merit, and the only figure they are giving me a figure of 50 million. Debt is 50 million. Times what year? Times tax. Times tax. Times tax. Tax ya ngapi somebody? Asante sana. Hapo utapata tena watu wengine, I don't know, this is something I've never understood, and this is done by very clever students. For whatever reason, you'll get somebody coming and saying that tax here is 0.7. It is 1 minus tax, which is 0.7. Our rate of tax is 0.3. So could you kindly, ladies and gentlemen, give me this figure? Itakuja ngapi somebody? 85 million. 85 million. Thank you very much. The ones who are saying 15, I want to believe 15 is this part. So plus this. So you're getting 85 million. Sasa nisikize na unisikize vizuri sana. Unisikize na unisikize vizuri sana. Ladies and gentlemen, remember the argument of Modigliani and Miller. The argument of Modigliani and Miller. The argument of Modigliani and Miller, especially under their second proposition. Under their second proposition, ladies and gentlemen, they told us that it is always advantageous for you to have what here? Debt. Why? Because debt, you will be paying interest. And the interest is allowable for purposes of what here? Tax. Interest is allowable for purposes of tax. So that tax allowance you get, it boosts your farm value. It boosts your farm value. Just like, for example, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to become a rich man, or even before I go to that, look at this. Value of an unlevered farm is 70 million. Value of a levered farm inakuja ngapi somebody? 85. Are you seeing value of a levered farm is higher? Value of a levered farm is higher. And if you look at, ladies and gentlemen, what is happening here, what basically has made farm 2 to have a bigger value is simply because of what here? Its debt. It is because of its debt. Because of debt. And debt, of course, has got what here? Somebody, that element of interest. And that is why Modigliani and Miller came and told us that the value of a levered farm, ladies and gentlemen, will always be equal to what? Value of a levered farm, ladies and gentlemen, will always be equal to value of an unlevered farm plus a present value of interest tax shield. Even though we make argument, wakasema value of a levered farm equals value of an unlevered farm plus present value of interest. Kama unaandika tafadhali unaandika in full, sababu later unanipigia simu usiku saa 5. Uniulize ITS ni nini? It is present value of interest tax shield. Present value of interest tax shield. Because whenever you are paying interest, ladies and gentlemen, you shield yourself. You shield yourself. You shield yourself. And as I was even trying to explain to you, even as an individual, ladies and gentlemen, if you want to create, in this case here, wealth, there are things you are not supposed to run away from. Like which one here, somebody? Something like mortgage. Mortgage in this case here will really protect you. Mortgage, is mortgage good or bad? Is mortgage good or bad? Especially when you are below. Peter nasema good. Is there somebody who has very bad experience in mortgages? Very good. Mary amejua sana. Good for tax planning, especially if you work for a firm which will give you like a mortgage at say 6% to 8%. This thing, take it. Why? Because automatically the interest you are paying, that interest you're paying up to a certain amount, will get its way to your pay slip. To your pay slip. Ili vitu unafaa kujua how to reduce, how to plan for your individual taxes under what we call the home ownership savings year plan as well. Up to 300,000 per annum. You can imagine that. You can imagine that. You can imagine that. Great. Haya, sasa nataka mnisikize zaidi. Hebu angalieni hapa. Hii kampuni yetu iko na debt. 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 Debt ya ngapi? Debt ya ngapi? 50 million. 50 million. Debt ya 50 million. So out of this debt of 50 million, what is their rate of interest? What is their rate of interest? Their rate of interest is 7%. Could you kindly tell me every year wanalipa interest ya ngapi amount? Wanalipa interest ya 3.5 per annum. Interest of 3.5 per annum. And have we been given N? Of course, N is what here? N is indefinite. N has not been given. N has not been given. N has not been given. And therefore, ladies and gentlemen, when we talk of value of a levered farm, listen, there is something I want you to learn here. It will be value of an unlevered farm, which is 70 million, plus the present value of interest. Present value of interest, remember this 3.5 million, I'll be receiving it I'll be paying it every year indefinitely. So I need to come and discount this by dividing with what year? R. But now remember, it is present value of interest, tax shield, meaning that whatever I will get here, I'll come and multiply this with what year? 30%. So the question will be, which R should we use to discount this interest? Which R should we use? Which cost of capital should we use to discount this 3.5 million, I mean? Ladies and gentlemen, you are right, Mary. She is telling me that whenever it comes to discounting of anything related to debt, like interest, you must always use what we call KD. And if KD is not given, of course, you use risk-free rate of return. So in this case, ladies and gentlemen, what I'll do to get value of my levered organization, this is what I'll come and do. Value of a levered organization will be 70 million plus 3.5 all over 7%, which is the same as 0.07, times, in this case here, what year? Times 30%. So this one will end up giving us 85 million. Will end up giving us the same amount. Mwalimu, why are you bringing this concept here today? And it's a concept that you never even taught us, right? Why am I bringing this concept here today? Ladies and gentlemen, I would want you to look at this kind of an illustration. Listen and listen to me very well. So next time, and you must have seen this kind of a question in your past paper, although it came long time ago, wanakuambia A is unlevered. A is unlevered, and its value of unlevered farm watakuja kupata kitu kama 50 million. Wakwambia B pays interest. B pays interest of 2 million per annum. Alafu watakuja hapa wakwambie tax is 30%. Tax is 30%. Na watakuja hapa wakwambie risk free, for example. Risk free rate is 8%. And then required, they'll tell you to give them the value of farm B using MM2. Give them the value of B using MM2 because we've got what here? Tax. Using MM2 because we have got tax. So utaanza kushangaa. So utapata mwanafunzi woye Tena ule mwanafunzi mwerevu, si ati mwanafunzi mjinga. Na kwa hii dunia hakuna mtu mjinga, by the way. Hapana, hakuna mtu mjinga at all. Nobody should ever tell you ati wewe ni mjinga ati ulipata nini high school. Hapana. Nobody. All of us are the same. Now, so atakuja andike vizuri wao wanafunzi werevu, watakuja waseme at value of a levered farm equals value of an unlevered farm plus debt times tax. So atakuja angalie huo Yesu yote maskini wa Mungu. Maskini wa Mungu, Mungu atuhurumie. Atakuja angalie, ladies and gentlemen, swali yote kama anavaa miwani, anajaribu hata kutingiza miwani kidogo namna hii, hakuna debt at all. Woi. Hakuna debt at all. So kama hakuna debt, this is when a good student will be able to invoke this other thought, that this is also known as present value of interest tax, what here? Interest tax shield. Present value of interest tax shield. So if that is the case, then could you kindly give me the value of this levered organization? Give me the value of this levered organization. Give me the value of this levered organization. Let's see value of this levered organization. Timothy tells me 57.5 is what is common with most students, because what they have known is that value of the unlevered here is 50 million plus present value of interest. So I would want to know my interest. My interest is 2 million. This has to be discounted. Discounted, of course, assuming, as per what Modigliani and Miller told us, that over the entire lifetime of a project of any company, you are supposed to be perpetually having loans perpetually. So divide by our R here, our cost of capital, our cost of debt. Remember, if the cost of debt is not given expressly, always remember that this will be what here, somebody risk-free, because debt, in most cases, debt is secured. So 0.0 what here? 0.08 times, of course, at the end of the day, the tax, which is what here, somebody, which is 30%. That is what these students did to get 57 point what here? To get 57.5. To get 57.5. Right? So all of us, ladies and gentlemen, including at individual levels, at times I wonder with wanafunzi wala wajajua finance sana. Unakuta mtu anapata mshahara mzuri ya 400,000 a month. Ukimuuliza mbona una loan, anasema loan ni mbaya. Hapana. Nilikwambia kwa normal class. Loan kuwa nazo mingi, lakini ukuwa unazi-invest wisely. Hapana invest kwa very risky projects. Unaweza kuenda kwa sijui ati Amazon web worker. Ama unaweza kuweka Quails. Hapana. So long as you invest, ladies and gentlemen, nicely. Unajua, for example, if it's real estate, I'll come and do a very good 3, for example, floor apartment, na ikuwe na size mzuri, usifinye sana. Because now you're looking at this thing in the next 40, 50 years, right? You'll go places. Because also in life, you're supposed to be having something which makes you wake up at night. That's how you become aggressive. Something which makes you wake up at night. Na kaibu nakumbuka niko na loan ya 40 million. International what here? Disaster. International disaster. Very good. Now turudi hapa kwa hii swali yetu. Kwa hii swali yote. So tumesema, mimi naenda watakia mazuri, tunapoachana wengine najua mnaenda kuwa CPK, hatutapatana tena. Una make sure unakuwa na loan sawa. Lakini pia kwa rafiki yangu aliniambia ati anipata loan ya kitu kama tuseme 1 million, say 1 million something, 80,000 juu. Anasema ati ile 80,000 ya juu ati hiyo ni kama mti iko na suckers. So lazima ukatakate hizo suckers. Ati ndio ubaki na stem. Kiweza kukatakata suckers hata stem utapasua. Uanze kukula. Hii ni pesa ya wenyewe, utahitaji kurudisha. Hii kitu lazima ufanye namna gani? Lazima uinvest vizuri. Like that. Very good. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we are told here WACC. WACC mnajua nyinyi mnajua sana. Tuanze na WACC of Farm A. 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 Itakuja namna gani somebody? Hii imenishinda hii. WACC of Farm A. WACC of Farm A. Very good. Very good. Thank you very much. Wamejua kwamba Farm A is unlevered. As I get a better pen, my pens are letting me down today. They have known kwamba hii ni unlevered farm. Unlevered farm tunajua ni washu equals Q. Mimi naniambia ni washosho. Yani weighted average cost of capital over unlevered farm is always equal to cost of equity of the unlevered farm. And in this question, they have given us, ladies and gentlemen, they have given us cost of equity of farm A, which is unlevered in note 4, 10%. You umekula mark yako straight away. Thank you very much. Now, where I want you guys to come on board and help me, it is in the WACC of farm B. WACC of farm B. This one I would want really your thoughts on it. Your thoughts on this. Yeah, I get what 𝐂𝐏𝐀, I like what 𝐂𝐏𝐀 wants to tell me. She's telling me the WACC of this particular farm, she has got to use this formula of weke plus, lakini sasa iliwashinda kutamuka. Hii ilikuwa ngumu hii. Hii iliwashinda kutamuka hii. So I want to see whether there are some 30 students who will be able to get the weights very well. Who are able to get the weights very well. Alice tells me weight of equity is 0.82 and the weight of debt is 0.18. Alafu swali kama hii hata ukienda ushindwe. Unajua wanafunzi wengi si wajanja. Mimi napenda sana mwanafunzi ambaye ni courageous, mwanafunzi ambaye ni mjanja, because really CPA is about enabling you to get the kind of confidence required for you to be able to run an organization. For you to be able to run an organization out there, ladies and gentlemen, you need a lot of confidence. Unapata mtu amefanya swali ya balance, lakini he goes ahead to convince people. That is an accountant, right? Confidence. Unaulizwa kama ni kitu ya tax, unajua hii. Sasa hiyo hujui chochote, lakini unasema yes. Lakini the next 2 hours utakuwa umejua kila kitu. So mwanafunzi mwenye ameenda kwa exam akakosa weights, hata unasema hapa assumed weight of equity is 20% and the weight of debt is 80%. Because at the end of the day, ladies and gentlemen, your exams is all about keeping the wheel rolling. You keep the wheel rolling. You assume. Because trust you me, the way we mark your papers at 𝐂𝐏𝐀, we are very fair. But the 𝐂𝐂𝐏𝐀 ukiona umeanguka 𝐂𝐂𝐏𝐀, hata AFM ukiona umeanguka pia, kusema kweli ni kama tu ulipata 0. Because we end up giving so many marks for free. Like I remember just the other, not this sitting, the other one, tulisema anybody mwenye ameandika. So for us to be able to get, ladies and gentlemen, these weights, we need to get the value of farm B, which is 85 million. So this farm value, of course, ladies and gentlemen, remember in capital structure theories, we always assume that any organization has got 2 vehicles of financing. It's equity or what is somebody debt. And the debt is the one that is known here. Debt is the one that is known in this particular case. Debt is 50. So we have to start by saying debt is, remember, value over a farm. Value of a levered farm will be debt and what here equity like that. So if levered farm value is 85 and debt, we know this is constant like that, then we can easily get equity. So the equity here will be 85 minus 50, which is 35. Now, once I have this, I'll come and divide, of course, this with 85 for me to be able to get the weight. So what are the weights here, ladies and gentlemen? What are the weights, ladies and gentlemen, here? Weight of equity, wanasema is 0.41 or something, 41. And then weight of debt is 0.59. Wala ambao walikuwa napata 50-50, ningetaka kujua walitoa wapi, lakini sasa sina time hiyo. So now what I want you to do for me, please come and plug in, or rather tell me, what am I supposed to do next to be able to get this WACC? Weke weight of debt, cost of debt after tax. Roslyn anauliza a very important question. What about, ladies and gentlemen, the 50 million ordinary share capital? Ndio nikasema, kumbuka ordinary share capital, ladies and gentlemen, ukiwa na shares kwa kampuni, really, can you be guaranteed over a constant income? No. Dividends always keep on fluctuating depending on how the firm is performing. So the only thing that is guaranteed, where you have even put a security there, because kulipa ni international disaster na nyongwa, ni debt. Debt ndio julikananga kwa hii mahesabu. Debt ndio julikana. Equity na kuanga ni balancing figure. So you can see some students have already known that there is another problem. This problem is that this examiner gave us the cost of equity of firm A, but he never gave us the cost of equity of firm B, which is levered. So then the next thing will be for us to ascertain the cost of equity of a levered organization. The next thing will be for me to get the cost of equity of a levered organization. The cost of equity of a levered organization. Cost of equity of a levered organization. Mary, I like that, but I'm not really advocate for that formula. No. Kuna that formula, which is the mother of them all, of getting cost of equity of a levered organization. Cost of equity of a levered, the mother of them all. Inasema Kel equals Q plus, into brackets here, Q minus KD into debt over equity. Less taxation, yes. Less taxation. Less taxation, less taxation. Less taxation. The mother of them all. Ya kupata cost of equity of a levered organization. The one that will never fail you. The one that will never fail you is the mother of them all. Is the mother of them all. Sijui kama ni ukweli, wanasema ati everyone else can forsake you, but your mother will never forsake you. Your mother will never forsake you. Everyone else. Hata iende namna gani, hata ukue namna gani, hata kumevuta bangi, mamako ni mamako. Mamako ni mamako. Okay. So cost of equity of an unlevered organization. Do we have the cost of equity of an unlevered organization? Wanasema, is it 10%? 10% plus 10% minus KD. So do we have KD, ladies and gentlemen? 7%. Do we have this debt over equity? Do we have the debt over equity? Do we have the debt over equity? Debt over equity. 50 is the debt. Equity is 35. Then 0. What there? 0.7. 0.7. So nasema according to Salome Nyambura inakuja 13%. Salome Nyambura anasema ni 13% final answer. Final answer ni 13%. Final answer ni 13%. Therefore, our WACC here will be equal to weight of equity, cost of equity, weight of debt, cost of debt after taxation. Cost of debt after taxation. So weight of equity, this one you gave me 0.41. Remember, we are getting WACC of a levered firm, or firm B. So 0.41 times cost of equity, which is 13%. Weight of debt, you gave me 0.59. Cost of debt, you guys have told me, is 7%. Cost of debt, the interest rate. Cost of debt. And then, of course, this has to be tax adjusted, has to be multiplied with 0.7. It must be tax adjusted, multiplied with 0.7. So then at the end of the day, we are able to get 8.22%. 8.22%. 8.22%. And then, of course, for you to be able to demonstrate broad and a deep understanding of the subject, broad and a deep understanding of the subject, go ahead and tell this person that firm B's WACC is optimal, is lower. Firm B's WACC, this one is lower than what here? The WACC of firm B, meaning that debt is good. Debt is good. meaning that debt is what here is good, meaning that debt is good. Debt is good. Debt is good. Can I go to part B of this question? Part B of this question. Proton Limited. Proton Limited. Proton Limited has a capital structure consisting of 250 million in 12% debentures and shillings 150 million in ordinary shares of shillings 10 par value. The company distributes all its net earnings as what here? As dividends. The finance manager of Proton Limited intends to raise an additional shillings 50 million to finance expansion program and is considering the following financing options. Option number 1, issue an 11% debenture stock. Option 2, issue 13% cumulative preference share. Option number 3, issue additional ordinary shares of shillings 10 par value, not 10%, shillings 10 par value. The corporation tax rate is 30%. They want us to calculate EBIT and the EPS at the point of indifference between the following financing options. Please underline the word point of indifference. Yes. Wakisema tu point of indifference, I remember straight away at the point of indifference, I'm very indecisive. At the point of indifference, I'll sit straight away on top of a fence. I'm not able to know the side to jump. Why? Because the two sides are equally likely. So when you talk of a point of indifference, you always remember what here that earnings of option 1, for example, will be equal to earnings of option 2. EPSs will be the same. EPSs will be the same. So anytime they talk of point of indifference, you always remember watermelon. You always remember. Do you know watermelon politics? Unajua kama hata saizi kuna wale ambao hata kudecide ni ngumu. Wanangoja waone ni side gani inachomoka haraka. Ni ya Ruto. Iko wale ambao wamekaa tu wanangojea. Iko watermelon. Fence eaters, yes. So the very first thing that we need to do, understand the current capital structure. Understand the current capital structure. The current capital structure. So currently, what do we have? Currently, ladies and gentlemen, what we have? Currently, ladies and gentlemen, what we have? We have debt. Debt of how much? Debt of 250 million. Debt of 250 million. And of course, this debt is 12%. And then we have ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shares. Ordinary shares, ladies and gentlemen, wamesema ordinary shares, the 150 million. 150 million. And then remember the par is shillings 10. 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 Now, ladies and gentlemen, from there, start tunaangalia options, various options. Yeah. So in case, for example, I go for option number 1. Option number 1. Option number 1, remember we are looking for how much? We are looking for an additional 50 million. 50 million. And according to option number 1, we are going to get a loan. So option number 1 is a loan. A loan, issue 11% debentures. 11% debentures. Issue 11% debentures. That is option number 1. That is option number 1. That's option number 1. A loan. So, ladies and gentlemen, remember there are things I would want you to give me straight away. Actually 3 things. Number 1, I would want you to give me the total interest. Total interest to be paid. Moving forward now. Total interest to be paid moving forward. Remember, we have got old interest, and now we shall be having new interest. So total interest, we have the old interest. Old is gold. Old interest. So the old interest, I should take what times what? The old interest, I should take what times what? Thank you very much. It is 12% of the total loan amount, which is 250 million. Which is 250 million. So this is the old inakuja ngapi, somebody? 30 million. 30 million. Thank you very much. And then the new interest, itakuwa namna gani, somebody? The new interest, itakuwa, it's an 11% debenture. So 11% times what? 11% times the amount you're borrowing, which is 50 million, which is 50 million, 50 million, which at the end of the day gives us what figure? 5.5. Thank you very much. So in total, this will be 35.5 million. That is the total interest. Now, ladies and gentlemen, after that, I would want you great students of mine, to give me the nose. Please give me the nose. The nose. Nose stands for a number of ordinary shares. Number of ordinary shares. Remember, here we'll be having the old nose, and the new nose. The old nose and the new nose. So the old nose, I'll take the 150 million, but it's good to put this. I'll take the 150 million divided by the par value, which gives me 15 million. New nose, we are not issuing. Look at option number 1. We are not issuing shares, ordinary shares, to get this 50 million. So the new nose is 0, meaning that the total nose, meaning that the total nose, the total number of ordinary shares, zinakuja 15 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, could you kindly then do me a favor? Kindly come here and give me EPS formula. EPS formula for our case here in terms of issues of indifference. EPS formula itakuwaje? EPS formula itakuwaje? EPS formula itakuwaje? EPS formula. Najua kuandika hapo ndio shida. EPS formula, ladies and gentlemen, the EPS formula will be equal to EBIT minus interest. And then, of course, we subtract what here? We subtract tax. And then, of course, ladies and gentlemen, we must pay what we call preference what here? Dividends. We must pay preference dividends. Remember, in terms of indifference points, don't forget the preference dividends formula in the formula, preference dividends in the formula, preference dividends all over the nose, all over the nose. Of course, someone will tell you that option number 1, we don't have preference dividends. Okay, fine, but let's just put it there. So, ladies and gentlemen, then for option number 1, my EPS 1 will be equal to what? Do we have EBIT? Of course, EBIT, you don't have it. Do we have interest? Total interest. Mlisema ni ngapi, somebody? 35.5. Total interest for option number 1. Total interest is 35.5 million. Now, ladies and gentlemen, have they given us the tax rate? Let me move slowly a little bit. I think I've started losing some of you. Tax rate is 30%. Thank you very much. So 1 minus T will be 0.7. 1 minus T will be 0.7. And then, of course, for option number 1, there is no C. There is no preference dividend, right? So preference dividend for option number 1 is 0. All of a number of ordinary shares in ngapi? Number of ordinary shares? 15 million. So please go ahead and do your simplifications. Go ahead and simplify. Go ahead and simplify. Go ahead and simplify. So my EPS1 will be equal to, we have 0.7 EBIT minus, what is this times 35.5 million? 24.85 million. 24.85 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. Thank you very much. So from there, if you allow me, I would want us to go to option 2. If you allow me, I would want us to go to option number 2. Option number 2. If you allow me, I would want us to go to option number 2. Option number 2, they want us to raise 50 million using what? 50 million using what? Option number 2, they want us to raise 50 million using 13% preference shares. Using 13% preference shares. Not a problem. Not a problem. Not a problem. So, ladies and gentlemen, what I want us to do here, I would want us, first of all, to give our person here the total interest. So the total interest, don't forget our format. It's old interest. It's old interest. Old interest ni ngapi hapa sasa? Si ile old, ile current. Current. So old interest itakuwa ni 12%, hata kwa hiyo figure already. 12% of 250 million. Ambayo itakuja ikuwe ngapi? 12% of 250 million, wanasema ni 30 million. 30 million. Wanasema ni 30 million. Great. Do we have any new interest this time round? Are we going to issue any new debt instrument? New interest is 0. So the total interest here will be 30 million. This is the total interest. Total interest will be 30 million. That is our A. Total interest will be 30 million. That is our A. So please go for our B and give me the nose. Go for our B and give us the nose moving forward. Give us the nose moving forward. Give us the nose moving forward. So the nose moving forward, the nose moving forward, the nose moving forward, the nose moving forward, ladies and gentlemen, the nose moving forward. So the nose moving forward, of course, we talk of the old nose. The old number of ordinary shares, we had 150 million divided by 10, which gave us 15 million. And then we have now the new nose. The new nose. The new nose, of course, we are not going to issue new ordinary shares. So meaning that the total nose will be 15 million. From there, ladies and gentlemen, now we have the C thing, which is the preference. So for preference share capital, I would want you to give me the preference dividends. Preference dividends. Preference dividends. Preference dividends. So preference dividends, preference dividends. So preference dividends, ladies and gentlemen, for preference dividends, what do we have here for C? C is our preference dividend, is our preference dividend. So we start with the old preference dividend. Nikiangalia capital structure, preference shares capital hakuna, so ni 0. Ni 0. Tuko na new preference dividend. So new preference dividend, ladies and gentlemen, will be 13% of what? 13%, thank you very much, 13% of the 50 million we want to borrow, which somebody is giving me a figure of 6.5. So here we have 6.5 what here? Million. 6.5 million. 6.5 million. So and we are through with C. Now straight out, we can go and plug in our EPS. You plug in, give us EPS2. Could you kindly do that for me? Our EPS2 will be equal to what? Kindly plug for me. Kindly plug for me. Kindly plug for me. EPS2 itakuwa ngapi? So EPS2, I'm following this, ladies and gentlemen. EPS2 will be EBIT minus interest. Interest of deleted mine, I wrapped mine. What is the total interest for EPS2, option 2? Total interest. Total interest ilikuwa inakuja ngapi? Total interest ilikuwa inakuja ngapi? 30 million. Total interest ilikuwa inakuja ni 30 million. Multiply this by 0.7. Multiply that by 0.7 minus preference dividends. Preference dividend ya ngapi somebody? Preference dividend ya ngapi somebody? 6.5 minus preference dividend ya 6.5 all over nose. Nose is number of ordinary shares. Are you able to see number of ordinary shares? Are you able to see number of ordinary shares? Number of ordinary shares. Number of ordinary shares inabaki ile ile tu mzee. 15 million. 15 million. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. So please go ahead with our simplification exercise. Go ahead with our simplification exercise. Try to simplify. So if you try to simplify, ladies and gentlemen, if we try to simplify, my EPS2 will be equal to what? My EPS2 will be equal to 0.7 EBIT. 0.7 EBIT minus this, and this gives me 21 million. Minus 6.5 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. All over 15 million. I hope you guys are able to follow. To see NMBO zaidi, we lose. Although I'm also going to share with you this video immediately after this, because mistaki wanafunzi waanze kusoma sana vitabu hapana. Bali imefika sasa the revision kit. Sasa unasoma na video yako. Unasoma na video yako. Kwanza ile siku utakuwa technologically savvy. Hata kwangu nimeweka TV. Unatumia TV, pana tumia computer sababu ya nini? Ya macho. Unajua unakaribia computer na TV unaweka huko mbali. And then TV of course sio vizuri kukaa chini sana most of the time. Vitu kama SG unasikiza kama unatembea tembea kidogo, ufanya exercise kidogo. Right? Unaongea na watu wako kidogo namna hii. Because nilikwambia life is not a matter of life and death, no. Life inaendelea. So nakuwa easy, but videos will really make, kwanza kama SG, kwa hivyo itakuja kuwe 0.7 EBIT, 0.7 EBIT minus this and that gives me what figure somebody here. Akiwa niongeleshe sana. This gives me minus 27.5 million all over 15 million. Like that. Thank you very much. Now from there, we go to option 3. So option number 3 now, this is yours. Option 3. Option 3 is yours. Option 3 is yours. Option 3, remember, they want us to raise 50 million using ordinary shares. Using ordinary shares. They want us to raise 50 million using ordinary shares. Using ordinary shares. So ini yako dakika moja, jameni, as I change my battery. For option number 3, what do we have? So number 1 for option number 3, what do we have here? Of course, we have interest. Interest. So interest, of course, this will only be the old interest, which was 30 million. No debt instrument is featuring here. So our new interest will be 0, meaning that the total will be 30 million. B, we have number of ordinary shares. So number of ordinary shares, we have the old number of ordinary shares. So we have the old number of ordinary shares. So we have the old nose. The old nose, we have 150 million divided by the par value. 150 million divided by the par value 10, which gives me 15 million. And then now I have new nose. So the new nose, ladies and gentlemen, remember we are raising 50 million and each share they have told us is 10. Please, the 10% is an error. It's supposed to be 10. The par value is supposed to be 10, which results to 5 million, giving us what there? 20 million. So please come and plug in somewhere for you to be able to give us now, or rather, Just for formality, we know preference dividends, formality, just formality. Preference dividends, old, 0, new, 0. So 0. Because remember in option number 3, we are not going to give out any preference, any preference, any preference, any preference, any preference shares. We're not going to give out any preference shares. So, ladies and gentlemen, that is it. So come and look for EPS 3. So my EPS 3 itakuwa namna gani sasa hapa? My EPS 3 itakuwa namna gani hapa sasa? EPS 3. So the EPS 3, ladies and gentlemen, will be equal to what? EPS 3, ladies and gentlemen, will be equal to, we have EBIT. EBIT, of course, is also not known in advance. Interest, umeniambia interest, mwalimu interest in 30 million. Ukaniambia uoye 1 minus tax ni 0.7, preference ni 0. Number of ordinary shares ukasema ni 20 million. Meaning that EPS 3 will be equal to 0.7 EBIT minus 21 million all over 20 million, like that. Now you go back to the question. Let's go back to factory settings. The question, they wanted us to calculate EBIT and EPS at the point of indifference between the following financing options. Option 1 and 3. Option 1 and 3. Option 1 and 3. So option 1 and 3, at the point of indifference, so you're saying option 1 and 3. At the point of indifference, at point of indifference, at point of indifference, at point of indifference, ladies and gentlemen, we know that EPS for 1 will be equal to EPS for 3, I mean, because it's 1 and 3. EPS for 1 equals EPS for 3. And unfortunately, we have our EPSs. EPS 1, ladies and gentlemen, is 0.7 EBIT minus 24.85 million all over 15 million. Should be equal to what here, somebody? Should be equal to EPS 3. Should be equal to EPS 3. Should be equal to EPS 3. And the EPS 3, tunajua EPS 3 sana. Tunajua EPS 3 sana, woye. EPS 3, tunajua EPS 3 sana. EPS 3, tunajua ndio hii hapa. It is 0.7 EBIT. 0.7 EBIT minus 21 million over 20 million. Over 20 million. Ladies and gentlemen, the denominators here, you can cancel them out for simplicity. First of all, the million and million will disappear. And then I know that 5 can go into this 3 times. 5 can go into this how many times? 4 times. Yeah. Yeah. So kutoka hapo sasa abracadabra, abracadabra, what do we have? Kutoka hapo sasa abracadabra, what do we have? Abracadabra, abracadabra, what do we have there? Abracadabra, what do we have there? So then you cross multiply. When you cross multiply, at the end of the day, when you cross multiply, what are we going to get when we cross multiply here? When we cross multiply, we shall already answer. When we cross multiply, ladies and gentlemen, when you cross multiply, this is what we shall be getting. This is what we shall get. So the 4 comes here. Kwa hivyo itakuwa 4 into 0.7 EBIT minus 24.85 million equals 3. This 3 goes over the other side. 3 into 0.7 EBIT minus 21 million. Minus 21 million. So please go ahead and do what here. Open your brackets nicely. Go ahead and open your brackets nicely. So if you are to open your brackets nicely, what are we going to get at the end of the day? If we open our brackets nicely, what shall we get at the end of the day? If we open our brackets nicely, what shall we get at the end of the day? If we open our brackets nicely, what shall we get at the end of the day? What we shall get? 4 and 0.7 gives me? Or you want us to work with the answer direct? No, for the sake of our new students, 400.7 gives me 2.8 million. 2.8 EBIT. Au wanipatia answers direct, wanipatia answers direct. Oh yeah. Hawataki kunipatia hizi 4 times this. Hata mimi niko na calculator, msinichezee. Niko na calculator. So we have here 4 times 0.7. That gives me 2.8 minus 4 times 24.85, which gives me 99.4. Okay. 99.4 million equals 2.1 EBIT. EBIT inakuja 63 million. From there, we put together those terms that like each other. So come and take this to this side. Kwa hivyo itakuwa 2.8 minus 2.1, which gives me 0.7. So we have 0.7 EBIT equals, this goes to the other side, it will be minus 63 million. When this crosses over it, of course, in this case here, changes the sign, 94 million. Meaning that 0.7 EBIT will be equal to minus 63 plus 99.4, which gives us 36.4 million. So then EBIT, ladies and gentlemen, EBIT will be 36.4 million. You divide this by 0.7. So divide by 0.7, which gives me 52. So EBIT is 52. And once I get EBIT, now I can easily get EPS by substituting in any of those equations. Nilikuwa rahisi na naweza kukumbusha mwalimu hapa EPS2 EPS3 I mean. EPS3 ilikuwa rahisi sana. Any of those 2 equations. EPS ilikuwa nasema 0 point. Was it 0.7 EBIT minus 24.85 million over what? EPS3 formula. Ilikuwa over, was it over 20 or over 15? Over what? EPS3 formula. Ilikuwa inakuja over what here somebody? EPS3 formula over 20. Thank you very much. Was it 21? EPS3. Oh, 0.7 EBIT. And are you sure I picked these things correctly? Are you sure I picked my formulas correctly? 0.7 EBIT. It is there, yes. 0.7 EBIT minus 21 million, yes. Minus 21 million. 21 million. All over what here, somebody? All over 20. Thank you very much. All over 20. Now, having gotten, in this case here, the EBIT, ladies and gentlemen, then this will be 0.7 times EBIT of 52 million minus 21 million all over 20, which ends up being what here? Which ends up being 0.77, which ends up being 0.77 like that. And I believe that the other one, now you guys will be able to do what here? You will be able to do it later on. Great.